Just like a lot of you, I have scars. And every scar seems to have a story. I've got one on the back of my leg here that I got when I was a little kid sliding down a metal slide into a kiddie pool. That slide just sliced the back of my leg, and I'll never forget seeing my dad punish that slide. That was awesome. I've got a scar on my right knee. It's just 3 dots from knee surgery that I received after being hit by a moving vehicle while riding my bicycle as a teenager. That was a fun experience, get plowed over by someone that shouldn't be on the road. And then I've got a scar down the middle of my head here that I got when I was running around a swimming pool at a family reunion as a young guy, being chased by someone and getting disoriented on which end of the pool I was in, and I dove into the shallow end and just split my head open and came out of that pool and probably looked like a horror movie. And I don't know how I didn't break my neck, but I've got scars. You've got scars, and every scar has a story, and these scars are now a part of me. They're permanent reminders of stuff in my past that is now part of who I am. Unfortunately, my scars are not limited to the physical type, and neither are yours. We all have scars on our hearts from sin. I've got scars from sin in my life, and I have stories about those sins. I'm not going to get into the juicy stories of those sins, but I just want you to know that if I were to tell you some of those stories, they'd sound a lot like your stories. Because when you boil it all down, we essentially all share the same story. All of us have sinned. And every one of us have not done the things that we should have done. We've not been the person that we should have been. Whether it's greed or envy or jealousy or anger, bad attitudes, unkind words, lust, whatever the sin is, the bottom line is we all have it. We all have scars on our hearts and on our minds from the sins that we've all participated in. See, sin has left its mark on us. And sin just leaves those scars year after year of our lives. We just have you noticed you just sinning all your life? I mean, you could probably say we're really pretty good at it. We've got it down where we're doing it all our life. And what happens is that those sins leave those scars behind in our heart, and those scars just build up over time, and our hearts become hardened by sin. And every one of us are in the same condition to one degree or another, having a hardened heart from our sins. And we try to compensate, we try to deal with it, we try to move forward in life with the reality of having all these sins throughout our life. And sometimes what we do is we just look at somebody else's life who we deem is a lot worse than us, and we feel a lot better about what we've done. I mean, as long as there's somebody else that we can say, well, they've done that, I've never done that, we can kind of feel better about what we have done. But you know, that never really does work, because it doesn't really fix the issue of our own sin. And so if that doesn't pan out, then maybe we try focusing on the pleasures of sin. I mean, if you can't beat them, you join them kind of attitude, and you get the frustrations of your sin coming up in your life to the degree that you just feel like maybe I'll just cover those frustrations by just participating in some of the temporary pleasures of sin. But that never really does work out all that good. And so maybe you just try to do better than what you have done in the past. I'm just gonna do better, and you hope that by doing better than what you have done before, it just makes everything better. But we all discover again and again and again and again that none of those efforts really work to fix the scars left behind from our sin. The sin never leaves. The scars never disappear. Just constant reminders. Constant reminders of our failure. I mean, that's where we live, and I just am so grateful to the Lord that there is a better way than living there. Have you ever been sneaking up on someone, trying to sneak up on someone, and your shadow gave you away? You're sneaking up and they see your shadow, and so you weren't able. Not that I've ever done anything like that. You can ask Kurt. I've never done anything like that. And have you ever been in that situation where your shadow gives you away? It signals that you are coming. There's a shadow in the Old Testament that signals that something better is coming. So here we are in all the scars of our sins, and around the corner comes a shadow of hope. That's what Hebrews chapter 10 is about. Hebrews chapter 10, starting in verse 1. For the law is a shadow of the good things to come, not the very reality of those things. It's just a shadow. The law, by the same sacrifices year after year, which are offered constantly, is not able to perfect those who come near to worship. Otherwise, would they not have ceased to be offered? Because those who are worshiping, once having been cleansed, would no longer have consciousness of sin. But in those sacrifices, there is a reminder of sins year after year. For the blood of bulls and goats is not able to take away sin. In the Old Testament, there was a system in place where the priests would offer sacrifices, the blood of bulls and goats, for their sins and the sins of the people. It was their way that God prescribed to them to deal with sin. But it was a shadow. It wasn't the remedy for sin. It was instead a constant reminder to them that they were sinful. The law, the first system, was not able to solve the problem of their sin. They could try to do better. They could offer the sacrifices. They do all they could do to try to remedy their sin, but nothing in the system that was the shadow could remedy the problem of their sin. The only thing the shadow would do would remind them they are sinful, condemned. That's it. I mean, it sounds a lot like what I described our predicament to be. They had a constant day in, day out reminder that they were sinners. Scars, reminders. But they had the shadow. And God had given them the shadow so they would be looking for someone who was coming. Verse 5. Therefore, coming into the world, Jesus says, sacrifices and offerings you did not desire, but a body you prepared for me. Burnt offerings and sin offerings you were not pleased with. Then he said, behold, I have come. In the scrolls of the book, it was written of me. I have come to do your will, O God. That's out of Psalm chapter 40, verses 6 through 8. A direct quote from the Old Testament. Jesus speaking through the prophets. And the author now emphasizes for us some things that he has pointed out that Jesus said through the shadow to help us know that he was coming around the corner. And he points out in verse 8, saying above, as he said above, sacrifices and offerings and burnt offerings and sin offerings you did not desire, you were not pleased with, which were offered according to the law. The shadow said that these things were to be done. Then he said, Jesus, behold, I have come to do your will. The shadow was not the will of God for remedying the problem of sin. That was pointing towards the solution, which was Jesus coming to make an offering. And so he says in the last part of verse 9, he takes away the first in order to establish the second. Jesus Christ takes away the offerings in the shadow in order to establish a new offering. He came to do the Father's will. And by this will, verse 10, by this will, we are sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once and for all. Jesus came to offer himself so that we might be made perfect, sanctified, holy, forgiven, your sins totally done away with through one offering of Jesus Christ once and for all. And now in verses 11 through 14, the author is going to emphasize again and again how permanent and significant, how once and for all what Jesus Christ has done really is for you and for me. Look at this. Verse 11. And every priest stands day after day worshiping and offering the same sacrifices over and over again, which are not able to take away sin. But Jesus, offering one sacrifice for sin for all time, sat down at the right hand of God. And now, from that time forward, is waiting until his enemies are placed as a footstool under his feet. For by one offering, he has perfected for all time those who are being sanctified. I mean, if that doesn't fire you up. You see the picture in the words and in the priest illustration there? His words are once and for all time, again and again, emphasizing the permanence of Jesus' offering, taking care of all sin. And then he paints the picture of the priest The priests in the old system were just busy all the time, standing up and moving and doing their offerings, trying to take care of sin, but all they were doing was producing a constant reminder of everyone's sinfulness. That's all they could accomplish. And they were always standing because it was always necessary to do something again and again and again because sin had no remedy. But Jesus Christ came and he offered himself on the cross once. And in that one offering, he took care of sin for all time so that now he is seated at the right hand of the Father. His work is accomplished. It is done. He is no longer busy about offerings to take care of sin. He is no longer busy about doing things to remind us of our sin. Jesus Christ has taken a seat next to the Father because his work of forgiveness is accomplished completely in his offering. It's done. You are forgiven if you've placed your faith in Christ, and there is nothing else that needs to be done to accomplish your forgiveness. It's done. You are forgiven. Perfect. Perfect. Here we are at the end of the year. I'm sure that you've begun to think about New Year's resolutions. If you haven't, probably you should. I'm just saying. Now, some of you will probably think about things you want to change in January that you really have intentions of changing throughout the year, maybe even the rest of your life. I mean, you have great intentions here, and you're thinking about things that you'd like to change, and a lot of people think about what they'd like to do with their physical health. Now, wouldn't it be a lot easier if on December 31st, you received in the mail a letter from a friend that says that you have a lifetime membership at the gym of your choice? I mean, wouldn't that make a resolution a lot easier? I mean, if you got a lifetime membership at someone else's expense at the gym of your choice, you know what that means for you? That means that you have at your disposal all the instructors, all the classes, all the nutritionists, all the opportunities, all the equipment. You could never get all of that stuff on your own, and all of a sudden it has been given to you to experience and to benefit from. Now, if you were to receive that, some of you on January the 2nd would show up at the gym ready to go. You'd have a meeting with a personal trainer, you'd meet with a nutritionist, you'd set up a plan, you'd be going. You'd really stick to it all the way through the end of the month of January. Then February and March, you just kind of drop off the face of the earth, and all of a sudden, 11 months has gone by, and you think, probably should have used that more. Some of you, if you got that, you'd be the kind of type where you would say, I'm going to the gym and be faithful to that. You'd go all the way up to spring break. But when spring break got here, you'd have a little vacation, you get back from spring break, you'd not get back into the swing of things anymore. But then the beginning of summer would come, you think, I need to get in shape for the summer. You'd start going again, then summer got here, you get busy, go on vacation again, you'd just kind of stop going. The start of school happens, you're like, I just can't get in the routine. The next thing you know, October's here, and you see Thanksgiving coming. I got to get in there and get ready for the holidays. And so you get in there, you start working out, get ready for the holidays, and the holidays hit. You'd pork up during the holidays, and you'd think, the end of the year again, I got to make another resolution. And you're back at it January 1, you know. And that would be what some of you, and then some of you, you would say, I'm going to go to the gym, and you would go consistently. So some of you could maybe go 2 times a week. Some of you maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and you'd be consistent through the year. There'd be days that you'd miss, weeks that you'd take off, but you'd consistently continue to go. And by the end of the year, you'd look back over the course of the year and say, you know, man, I really benefited from that because I was just consistently there. I missed some times, but I was there a lot, and I really benefited from that. See, it would all be given to you. Everything at your disposal. But the benefit of that gift would really rest in your court. Jesus Christ has paid for your membership to his gym. The only way you get into his gym is if you're forgiven. You don't get through those doors if you're not forgiven. But he paid the price. And you're forgiven once and for all. And once you're in, you're in. Lifetime membership. Forgiven. But the benefit of that membership is in your court. That's what verse 14 tells us. That Jesus Christ has perfected for all time those who are being sanctified. You know what Jesus is doing while he sits on the throne next to the Father and waits for his enemies to be brought under his feet? You know what he's doing? He's helping you and me enjoy the benefits of our forgiveness. And the degree to which you enjoy your forgiveness now is in your court. And to help you out, the Holy Spirit has said some things to you. Verse 15. The Holy Spirit testifies to us. For after he says, "This is the covenant which I will cut with them after those days, says the Lord. I will place my law upon their hearts, and I will write them upon their minds. And their sins and their lawlessness I will not remember ever. For where there is forgiveness of these things, there's no longer offering for sin needed ever again." The Spirit of God is constantly wanting you and me to know that we now have a heart that has written on it the law of God, a mind that now has written on it the law of God. Do you know how that happens? God did not take the heart that is calloused with sin and write over the top of those scars His law. All that does is remind us of condemnation. No. What God did is He took that heart scarred with sin and He took it away and He paid for it on the cross so He could give us a brand new heart that is not scarred with sin, that has written on it in the nicest, most shiniest letters of all, the law of God. And you know what happens to the heart that's brand new, that has the law of God written across it? It is never, ever scarred again by sin. You are forgiven. You are forgiven. Not a single sin in your life can put a scar on that heart, because on that heart is written the law of God, and that heart is given to you because of Jesus Christ, who fulfilled the law. Perfect. And you have His perfection now marking your heart. See, the scars of Jesus Christ, the scars that He bore for our sins, eradicated the scars upon our lives. We are forgiven. And in case you need even more encouragement, the Holy Spirit also says to you, all of your sins that you keep on doing, I'm not ever going to remember a single one of them. They're forgotten forever. I've got a new heart that cannot be scarred by sin, and I have the word of the Spirit speaking to me constantly. I will not remember any of your sins. You and I are forgiven. Is there a better message than that? Is there better hope than that? All our sins are completely forgiven. Jesus means that I don't have to try to live in some other system anymore. I don't have to compare myself to someone to feel better about me. I don't have to find somebody that I think's worse than I am to feel better about how bad I am. I can get out of that system and just accept that Jesus died for my sins. and recognize that He forgives me. I don't have to try to be better, to feel better about me. Jesus Christ gave me His perfection. I can feel really good about what He's done for me. See, I don't have to live in a different system, and I don't have to just be a sinner anymore. I'm not stuck in my sin. I am not stuck in the trajectory of being forced away from God because of my sinfulness. No, what Jesus Christ has done is He has turned my life around, and He Himself is moving me closer and closer to the Lord. And now I get to experience the benefits of my perfection in Christ. I don't have to be just a sinner. I've got a new heart and a new direction. And I get to benefit from what Jesus has offered for me. I'm forgiven. Totally forgiven. You know what the Spirit and the Son and the Father want us to do in response to this passage? God wants us to worship Him, to thank Him, to enjoy the gift of forgiveness. You know how you start doing that? By remembering that you're forgiven. Stop remembering your sin and thinking because you've sinned, you're not good enough to know Christ. You're not good enough to serve Christ. You're not good enough to have a life that reflects Christ. You're not able to pray and have God answer you. Stop remembering your sin. Stop thinking about your sin and thinking that God has something against you because of your sin. Stop remembering your sin and start remembering your forgiveness. Don't think that you are a sinner. You're forgiven. You need to remember that. Forget your forgiven sin and remember your forgiveness. That is how you worship Jesus Christ, who gave His life for you. That's a message that'll change your life. And that's a message that our world needs to hear. I had something really good to close this sermon with, and I have forgotten what I was. Do you have Post-it notes in your life to remind you, reminders, alarms set? Do you do that kind of stuff in your life so you don't forget things that you should remember? Whatever it takes, whatever you have to do, if it takes 1,000 Post-it notes, if it takes 100 million reminders, please don't forget your forgiveness. It's the one thing you must remember. Don't forget it. Remember, you are forgiven. And enjoy your forgiveness. That's how you live a life of worship.